Ever planted something that looked amazing at first, and then it completely took over your garden? Those big, bold architectural plants can look stunning in photos, but in a small space, they turn into a nightmare. Today, I'll show you 7 plants you should avoid in small gardens, and what to grow instead for the same dramatic look without the chaos. And stick around until the end, because I've got a bonus checklist that will save you from costly gardening mistakes. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I've been gardening in small spaces for years. Believe me, I've made some mistakes, like the time I planted a banana in my tiny courtyard. 2 years later, it was blocking the sun and even cracked my paving stones. Lesson learned. That's why in this video, we'll go through 7 tempting plants that look amazing at first glance, but can overwhelm small spaces. And I'll give you smarter alternatives for each one. But before we dive in, if you love practical gardening tips that save you money and stress, make sure to hit subscribe and tap the notification bell. This channel is all about helping your small garden thrive without overwhelm. So here's how we're going to do this. I'll show you the 7 most common architectural plants that get out of hand in small gardens. For each one, we'll cover why people love it, what goes wrong in tight spaces, and the better alternatives you can plant instead. Ready? Let's start with the first one. First up, the banana plant. And I get it, they're beautiful. Those huge tropical leaves instantly turn any garden into a lush getaway. Just one plant can transform a plain patio into something that feels exotic and alive. But here's the problem. Bananas don't stay small. A single clump can spread 8 to 10 feet wide, and those leaves, they can grow longer than your arm. In a small space, that means blocked windows, blocked sunlight, and a plant that demands constant maintenance. And it doesn't stop there. Bananas produce suckers, new shoots that pop up all around the base. In no time, your one neat plant has turned into a jungle of stems fighting for space. Add in the leaf drop during windy days, and suddenly your relaxing courtyard looks more like a cleanup site. Now, if you already have a banana plant and you don't want to give it up, you've got options. You can choose a dwarf variety, prune regularly, and even grow it in a large container to keep it under control. But in most small gardens, bananas just ask for more than they give back. So what's the alternative? Try something like a dwarf bird of paradise or a compact heliconia. They give you the same bold architectural leaves, that same tropical punch, but in a size that won't overwhelm. Perfect for keeping drama in your garden design without sacrificing space or sanity. Next on the list, the elephant ear. Now, if you've ever seen one, you know exactly why people fall in love with them. Those massive, heart-shaped leaves, sometimes 2 or 3 feet across, look like something straight out of a jungle adventure movie. They add instant drama, instant scale, and they're often used as the star of tropical-themed gardens. But here's the catch. In a small garden, elephant ears can quickly outgrow their welcome. The leaves are so large they block light from reaching anything underneath, casting heavy shade that stunts smaller companion plants. You end up with one big, dramatic focal point and very little else. And then there's the water demand. Elephant ears are moisture hogs. They love damp, rich soil, and in a tight garden bed, that means you'll be constantly watering and feeding just to keep them happy. Neglect them for a little while, and the leaves wilt, yellow, and collapse. Not exactly the look you were going for. On top of that, many varieties spread aggressively through underground rhizomes. Left unchecked, they'll send up shoots everywhere, popping through lawns, cracks in paving, and smothering delicate plants nearby. And once they're established, those rhizomes can be tough to dig out completely. If you already have elephant ear in your small space, consider growing it in a container where the roots are contained and the size is easier to manage. That way you can still enjoy the bold leaves without losing control. But if you're starting fresh and want the same dramatic leaf look without the overwhelm, go for smaller cousins. Compact varieties of alocasia, like Polly or Amazonica, stay much more restrained while still offering those striking arrow-shaped leaves. Or you can try caladiums. They don't get nearly as big, but they bring bold foliage in incredible colors. Reds, whites, pinks, and greens that can light up shady corners without taking over. Bottom line, elephant ears are gorgeous, but in a small space, they can feel less like a design statement and more like a green monster eating your garden alive. Now let's talk about large palms. They're iconic, tall, elegant, instantly transporting you to a resort, a beach, or a sunny boulevard. In garden design, palms are often used as architectural anchors. Their feathered or fan-shaped fronds make stunning silhouettes. But here's the reality. In small gardens, most large palms are just too much. Take the Canary Island Date Palm, for example. It may start off small and manageable, but fully grown, it can tower over 60 feet tall with a trunk thicker than a telephone pole. Even so-called smaller species, like Washingtonia palms, shoot up fast and spread out with huge, spiky fronds that can be dangerous to trim and messy to maintain. The problems don't end there. Palms shed old fronds regularly, and these aren't tiny leaves. They're long, heavy, fibrous structures that fall awkwardly, sometimes even damaging things around them. In a confined space, that's a hazard. And then there's the root system. While not usually invasive, large palms still need a deep, wide soil base to thrive. Put one too close to paving, and you'll get lifting or cracking over time. And let's be honest, once a palm gets too big, there's no easy fix. You can't just prune it back like a shrub. If it outgrows your garden, your only option is to cut it down, and that's expensive. If you love the look of palms but want something suitable for a small space, there are fantastic alternatives. Try out parlor palm, Chamaedorea elegans. Compact, graceful, and perfectly suited to containers or shady corners. Or go for a dwarf date palm, Phoenix rubellini, which has the same elegant fronds but tops out at around 10 feet, making it much more manageable. Tree ferns are another great substitute. They give you that same tropical canopy feel, but without the skyscraper height or heavy fronds crashing down. So while large palms may scream paradise, in a small garden, they can quickly turn into a constant headache. Save yourself the trouble and choose their smaller cousins instead. Plant number 4 is one that always makes jaws drop, the Gunnera Manicata, better known as the giant rhubarb. At first glance, it's spectacular. The leaves are enormous, sometimes reaching 6 to 8 feet across. They look prehistoric, like something dinosaurs might have sheltered under. And in large gardens, especially near water features, they can be a true stowshopper. But in a small garden, Gunnera is an absolute space hog. It needs damp, boggy soil to thrive, so if you're planting it in a small bed, you'll be fighting constantly to keep the soil wet enough. That means daily watering in summer, or you'll end up with drooping, collapsing foliage. And when it's happy, it doesn't politely stay in one corner. Those giant leaves spread out aggressively, shading every square inch of space beneath them. Nothing survives under a Gunnera canopy. Not your flowers, not your ground covers, not even your lawn. Then comes the maintenance. When autumn arrives, those huge leaves collapse into soggy heaps that can smother smaller plants and create a perfect breeding ground for slugs and snails. And because the leaves are so big, you can't just toss them into a compost pile. They're heavy, awkward, and messy to deal with. If you've got acres of space, a Gunnera can be magical. But in a small garden, it's a disaster waiting to happen.
So, what's the smarter choice? Look for Rheum palmatum, also called ornamental rhubarb. It gives you bold architectural leaves, but they max out at a much smaller scale. Or try Darmera peltata, sometimes called umbrella plant, which produces large rounded leaves but grows in a far more restrained clump, perfect for pond edges or damp spots in smaller gardens. That way, you still get the drama of oversized foliage without your garden looking like it belongs in Jurassic Park. Number 5 is a plant most people don't think about until they see it in action, the Raphia palm. If you've never heard of it, here's the headline. It produces the largest leaves of any plant in the world. Some Raphia species have fronds that stretch over 60 feet long. Yes, 60 feet. Now imagine that in a garden the size of a driveway. Those massive pinnate fronds arch out in every direction, swallowing pathways, smothering other plants, and even making it difficult to walk through your own garden. Beyond the sheer size, Raphia palms are thirsty and demanding. They thrive in swampy conditions, which means in an ordinary small garden, you'll constantly be struggling to keep up with their water needs. And because the fronds are so heavy, when they finally die back, they don't drop neatly like a leaf. They crash down like giant spiny beams that are almost impossible to move without serious effort. And here's the kicker. Many Raphia species are monocarpic, meaning they flower once in their lifetime, set seed, and then die. That could be after 20 years of maintenance, only to leave you with a massive dying stump to clear away. For small gardens, this plant is pure overkill. Instead, go for palms designed with compactness in mind. Chamaedorea species, like the bamboo palm, give you a feathery tropical look in a fraction of the space. Or try Rapis excelsa, the lady palm. It grows slowly, tops out at around 6 to 10 feet, and has a refined upright habit that works beautifully in courtyards and shaded patios. These alternatives give you the elegance of palm fronds without turning your garden into a palm jungle you can't escape from. Plant number 6 is one that sneaks under the radar because it starts out looking innocent, the tree aloe. When young, it's easy to mistake it for a stylish succulent. Thick stems, dramatic rosettes of leaves, and that sculptural look that fits right into modern landscapes. It's no wonder so many small garden owners fall for it. But give it a few years and the tree aloe shows its true colors. Mature specimens can reach over 60 feet tall with trunks that are thick, woody, and heavy. Those rosettes of fleshy leaves expand, forming canopies so wide they block sunlight from everything below. And those fleshy leaves aren't light and delicate. They're heavy, full of sap, and awkward to prune or remove.
The roots are another problem. While not always invasive in the sense of breaking pipes, tree aloe roots are aggressive in their search for water. In a tight courtyard or near paving, they can easily disturb foundations or lift pathways. And here's a maintenance issue many people don't realize. Aloes flower beautifully, but when they do, the spent stalks are thick and messy. Combine that with dried leaves hanging down the trunk, and suddenly your modern sculpture looks untidy and neglected. Now, if you want that same architectural desert-inspired drama without the overwhelm, you've got options. Go for Aloe arborescens, sometimes called the candelabra aloe, which stays much smaller, with branching, shrub-like growth and gorgeous red flower spikes. Or consider Aloe Hercules hybrids, which have a much more restrained growth habit and won't tower over your house. These compact aloes keep the striking silhouette, but they'll never grow into the monster tree you'll regret planting in a small space. And finally, number 7, the large ficus family, including trees like the weeping fig, the rubber tree, and other spreading species. At first, they seem perfect. Glossy leaves, elegant branching, quick growth, and they adapt well to containers when young. But the key word there is when young, because once a ficus gets established, it becomes one of the most overwhelming plants you could possibly put in a small space. The root systems are legendary, powerful, wide-spreading, and relentless. In nature, these roots crack through rock. In your garden, they'll invade pipes, lift paving, and strangle the soil so that nothing else can grow. And they don't stop spreading. Even in small beds, ficus roots can travel surprising distances underground. Above ground, the growth is just as extreme. Some species, like Ficus benjamina, can easily reach 30 to 40 feet tall, with broad canopies that shade out every other plant. The leaf drop is constant, creating a mess that's hard to keep up with, and pruning a ficus is a never-ending chore. If you've ever seen a ficus planted too close to a house, you'll know the damage it can do. Cracked driveways, warped walls, and clogged gutters. It's a common mistake that turns into an expensive problem. So what should you plant instead? For that glossy-leafed, structural look, Consider Ficus microcarpa Green Island, a dwarf variety that forms neat, rounded shrubs perfect for small spaces. Or skip the ficus altogether and go for Clusia rosea, sometimes called the autograph tree. It has thick, glossy leaves, tolerates pruning, and works beautifully in small gardens without the destructive roots. These choices give you the polished, evergreen appeal of a ficus, without the nightmare of roots tearing through your garden and property. Now that we've looked at the 7 plants, let's put it into perspective. On the left, here's a small courtyard with a banana, a giant palm, and an elephant ear crammed into the corners. At first glance, it looks lush, but look closer. The banana leaves are blocking windows, the palm is throwing heavy shade, and the elephant ear has swallowed up all the planting space beneath it. The garden feels crowded, dark, and unbalanced. Now compare that with the version on the right. Instead of the banana, we've swapped in a dwarf bird of paradise. Instead of the giant palm, a compact lady palm. And instead of the elephant ear, a cluster of colorful caladiums. The space feels open, inviting, and you still get that bold tropical drama, but without the overwhelm. This side-by-side shows just how much plant choice matters. The wrong plant can dominate and suffocate a small garden. The right one transforms it into a relaxing, usable space.
Before you go plant shopping, let me give you a quick checklist that will save you from expensive mistakes. Number 1, always check the mature size of the plant, both height and spread. Don't buy based on what it looks like in the pot. Number 2, think about the roots. Are they shallow, invasive, or aggressive? Roots can cause just as much trouble as leaves. Number 3, consider the leaf size and how much light it will block. Big leaves mean big shadows. Number 4, look at maintenance needs. Some plants demand constant pruning, watering, or cleaning. If you don't have the time, avoid them. Number 5, factor in seasonal changes. Will the plant die back, drop massive leaves, or need winter protection? And number 6, always research compact cultivars or container-friendly alternatives. They're designed to give you the same visual impact in a much more manageable size. Run through this checklist before you plant, and you'll avoid 90% of the common headaches small garden owners face. So there you have it, 7 architectural plants that look stunning in photos but can completely overwhelm a small garden. Let's recap quickly. Banana plants, elephant ears, giant palms, Gunnera, Raphia palms, tree aloes, and large ficus trees. They all promise drama, but in tight spaces they end up stealing the show, and not in a good way. The good news is, for every one of these garden giants, there is a smarter alternative. Compact varieties, container-friendly options, or entirely different species that deliver the same architectural punch without dominating your garden. Now I want to hear from you. Have you planted any of these green monsters in your garden? Did they turn into a problem, or did you manage to keep them under control? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to feature some of your experiences in a future video. And if this video saved you from making a big mistake or gave you some new ideas for your small garden, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps the channel reach more gardeners like you. Most importantly, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell icon so you don't miss my next video where I'll be sharing the best plants to add drama and style to a small garden without the overwhelm. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, happy gardening.